What is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to Fireside Rangers. I'm your host, Eric Wilson. Today, joined by my co-host, Colin Alcabes. As you can probably tell by the tone of my voice, I'm unhappy. For those that didn't see last night, the Rangers decided to make another trade. So we've got part two of the goodbye series. The first one was about Jacob Trouba. I was very happy about that one. But we're wearing the Kakko jerseys one last time before they officially get hung up in the rafters of my closet after this episode. So yeah, Kakko got traded. I'm upset, but I kind of got all my anger out last night. So I'm just here to just talk business, stats, and all that whatnot. I shared a lot of emotion on the Fireside Instagram last night. So if you want to see my freak out and my crash out last night, just check that at Fireside Rangers. But we're going to get right on into it. Just leave your thoughts on this trade down in that comment section below if you want to see more. Obviously, like and subscribe like always. And I already shouted out the social page, so I won't do it again. I'll just get right on into it. Colin, how are you doing? And tell me about your initial feelings about this Kakko trade.
I'm disappointed. I was not really with the idea of trading him. He had been playing statistically his best season yet. His underlying numbers were phenomenal yet again. Even in a game where he only got 10 minutes, whenever they played, I believe it was Nashville, or I think that was it. Whichever game he came back after he got scratched, he only had 10 minutes. He led the Rangers in shots and goals for percentage, and a limited in the least amount of time out there. So I think that's absurd. And a guy like that who's as plus as he is, obviously that third line was killing it. To move on from him, obviously he was never living up to that second overall billing. But still, at just 23 years old, he was showing a lot of growth. He went from being, with his rookie year, the worst defensive forward in the league, the worst graded forward in the entire league, to a top guy when it came to handling the puck in his own zone and things like that. And I also just don't love the return. So I don't know if I'll leave that for you. I know you said you're going to get into the analytics of it and all that, but yeah, no, I'm not a fan.
To say I'm not a fan is, I feel like it's underwhelming a little bit because I just hate it, dude. And there's so many people. I'm gonna try my best to not get heated again because it ruined my night last night, and I'm not gonna let it ruin a second night. Okay. There are so many people out there that are applauding Drury for this trade because Kakko was a bust. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, was he a second overall level type of guy? No. But was he a bust? Well, now he is because we traded him, but he wasn't a bust up until last night. He was putting up points at 5v5. Only was one or two games this entire season where he was on the ice for a point against at even strength, which is a massive downside of the Rangers team right now. He plays great defensively, and he finally started to produce those points. So was he ever going to be a first line or a second line guy? No. But he's the type of guy who's always, every single game, he's always trying his hardest. I've never seen him have a single game where he looks like Mika Zibanejad or Kreider or Lindgren or Miller or any of the type of guys that just go out there and just act like they don't want to be there. He's a guy who played with heart, and he made it seem like every game could be his last because it was. Because honestly, the Rangers just made him a scapegoat. They drafted him at second overall. What did they do to help him succeed? Nothing. They buried him in the bottom six, and when he didn't play like a second overall type of player, they'd scratch him. But the problem wasn't him. The problem was the way that the organization handled him. And then times like this, where everyone's playing bad, who do they point the finger at and make the healthy scratch 2 games ago? Kakko. I don't get it. He had the quote himself where he said it's easy to just pick out a young guy and just boot him out. And he's right. He didn't deserve it. If anything, Mika Zibanejad deserved it. But Peter Laviolette is too much of a baby to scratch a guy worth $8.5 million annually. That's a veteran that's been with the team for a while. I don't care how long you've been with the team or how much money you make. If you're the problem, get off my roster. Kakko was not the problem, and here he is off the roster. So make it make sense. I don't understand it because unless this is just a full start of a rebuild move, I don't get it. And even if it is, I still don't get it because Kakko's young. He's one of the guys that you would want to keep around and be one of your better bottom six players moving forward. To me, if I'm Chris Drury and Peter Laviolette, there's a long list of names that I'm trying to move before Kakko. I get it. Teams were interested in him, but I would shut the door and say, no way. If you want to make a trade with me, go for Zibanejad, go for Kreider, go for Lindgren, go for Miller. Even Fox at this point. I'm like extremely underwhelmed by Adam Fox this year. Like, cash in on his value, if anything. Because Kakko didn't have that much value by this trade.
Like, the frustrating part is, like, we prospect hug. We wouldn't move him. We wouldn't move him in a first for Henry. We wouldn't move him in a cancel trade. For Will Borgen, third. Like, it makes no sense when you could have shipped him off at a way higher value, and then you get Will Borgen, who I'll get into in a little bit. It just doesn't make any sense. And also, to be fair, Kakko's only played one full season. I know he's been on the team for a little bit now, but like injuries and concussions and things like that have held him out of just chunks of seasons. And that one full season he did play was the season where he showed the biggest amount of growth: 18 goals, 22 assists for 40 points. Looking for a big year the next year, and then he missed a good chunk of 20 games right as he started to get hot, I thought, and he came back and he just wasn't the same player. But, I mean, 14 points in 30 games this year and a +9, as opposed to, and I know Will Borgen plays defense, but as a guy who's mainly playing defense, for him to be a -13, very, very underwhelming. Very underwhelming. And I get that Borgen's on an expiring contract, so it doesn't really like hold a whole lot. But Borgen's 27, I believe, 28. As of today, actually. Happy birthday, Will Borgen.
Happy birthday, as we're about to say why we don't want you here.
Kakko's 23, and I mean, we said it a million times. Obviously, he's never going to live up to that billing. But progression is not a straight line, and if you look at other good players, there's been guys who have taken a little bit to get going. At 23 years old, he still has. I mean, Ottawa probably thought the same thing about Mika. Then they gave him to us, and now we looked at that trade as one of the best deals in Rangers history because we got a second, and Mika, who was consistently putting up 80 points, light work. I mean, now he's kind of taking a step back, obviously, but initially that trade looked like a steal, and it was a prospect that was given up on, just wasn't given the time, and he blossomed. And I think that something similar could happen with Kakko. I think that they'll use him properly. I know he got looks on the first line with the Rangers and the second line from time to time. I don't know. I know that the fan base is very torn on it. Half of them love him, half of them hate him. I don't know. I think if you're going to move on from a guy like Kakko, second overall, only 23 years old, he's still a big dude, and he's one of the guys who looks like he gives a crap every night in, night out, as you mentioned before. I'm looking to move him for something a little bit more than this. More than a depth defenseman, a third-round pick, and a sixth. Those picks probably won't even turn into anything. So it's just frustrating. And again, I can't really speak a whole lot on Borgen because I haven't watched a ton of Kraken hockey, but the numbers don't look great the last two seasons. He's been minus, obviously, one. He's been on bad teams for a lot of his career.
I mean, at this point, though, Seattle is better than the Rangers, and his stats are still worse than Kakko's.
Yeah, I just don't think he's going to be like a savior.
No, he's not. The funniest comment I saw yesterday was that the Rangers just traded Kakko for Jacob Trouba because I guess Borgen is just as bad as Trouba, which also, like, by the way, like, how that's kind of messed up, man. I know we talk about cutthroat and the stuff that Drury did for like Goudreau and Trouba, trading a man the day before his birthday. That's tough.
Yeah, actually, I didn't think about that. But yeah, I mean, Borgen's a big kid, 6'3", 204. It brings size to the lineup, which is a lot of what the Rangers are lacking, especially in their decor. They're just a relatively smaller squad with guys like Jones and Fox and even Lindgren. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what to expect from him. Obviously, he'll probably slide right in just because he does have, out of the remaining players, for the most experience. In terms of, like, when it goes against Arovac and I, or Mancini, or even Jones, like, he has more experience than all three of those guys. So I'd imagine that he'll be a regular. But yeah, I mean, I can't speak on how he'll play with us because our whole decor is kind of already in shambles. So I don't really think it can get a whole lot worse. But yeah, no, to say I'm underwhelmed is an understatement. I definitely thought that if you're going to move a guy on from a guy like this who still has a whole lot of upside, in my opinion, even if it isn't just contributing points, but creating turnovers, and he's really good at possessing the puck. I mean, goals for, nobody really talks about it, but his goals for percentage when he was on the ice was phenomenal. It's right up there. I read a report today. It's right up there with the likes of Zuccarello, Eriksson, Ek, and there was another guy who was really good, who you would think like he's he has the same goals for percentage as those guys. Those guys put up a whole lot of points. Like the points just weren't there, but I feel that they will come, and if he's given more opportunities, like he will with the Kraken, you'll start to catch them. And I also think, and this will probably be my last point, is that playing in New York is so difficult. And I know we say this all the time. Come over from Finland, leave your family, and step into the biggest market in sports. Probably second biggest in hockey, because Toronto, like the Montreal, are probably two of the bigger ones. But like one of the biggest markets in the NHL and in just sports in general. And he's also deemed as like the savior before Lafreniere. Obviously, he was going to be the only guy. Like he had a whole lot of pressure on him. And I think now that he's in Seattle and he's kind of gotten that scenery, you're going to see a whole lot of pressure come off his back. I was talking about it yesterday with my they said, watch, his hands are going to become silky smooth. He's going to start playing with a whole lot more confidence. Like I genuinely feel that he could be a really good player for the Kraken, and it sucks that it never worked out with us. I don't think that it ever would have been like the guy that we thought he was going to be, as I said many times, that everybody recognizes. But I don't think that this return warrants what he's capable of, especially because we also for versatile. I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
Yeah, I mean, see, I wouldn't even say that it didn't work out with us. I think it did. It didn't work out the way that we thought it would, but it wasn't like he was a terrible player. You know, it wasn't like a Dylan McElrath type of draft pick. Honestly, probably the first time we've ever said that name on this channel. New reference unlocked.
You're right. Like it did work out in the sense that at least he got minutes with the. But
your mic is like cutting out right now.
Oh, my bad. I was saying though, this season, like his that third line was the best that I've seen in a while. So
that third line, go back to the kid line. We've had a really good couple years of Kakko, but like to reference what you said earlier, you said like the fans are divided. Some of us either love him or hate him, and to me, the only people that hate Kakko are people who can't get that second overall label out of their minds. Like if you can just look past that and just appreciate what he does, it's impossible to hate him. And I don't know. I loved the way he played. I loved what he did. I loved him as a person too. He's like a funny player to follow. And at the end of the day, he was the only player that had the balls to say something about like this empire that is Madison Square Garden. You know, like James Dolan and Chris Drury and this like prison that they're running, and all the other players are just like whining, complaining about it, and just not choosing to not play hard and stuff. Kakko said, no, you know what? Screw you guys. I didn't do anything wrong. Like Mika Zibanejad's like, I'm just a human. Stop bullying me. And Kakko's like, nah, dude. Like, just.
I don't even think it's on Drury. I think it's more on Laviolette and his blind.
Laviolette is also a problem.
He has so much like just I forget what the word. It's I don't know. He just loves the veterans. He refuses to do anything but play the veterans. He won't scratch the veterans. It's ridiculous. I mean, when Kakko says he's not the problem, he's not the worst player out there. He's right. He's dead right. And
he got traded because of it. He opened his mouth, complained about the system, and got shipped off a day later.
Already talks about him getting traded and things like that. Like it happened well before that, and I don't know why Drury decided that this was the one that he wanted to make, but like he was definitely already on his way out. If he didn't play super well this season,
but he was playing super well.
I guess that he just liked this move and more than he liked keeping him, which I think is stupid. But he just like Laviolette is just blind to the veterans, and he's so scared to scratch any of those guys. And so instead, yeah, he's right. The finger gets pointed at the young guy who's had, you know, a career of struggles.
Dude, if anything at this point, scratch Lafreniere. Dude is 2 goals in the last like 15 games. What has Lafreniere done in the last stretch of games? Nothing.
What does
At least Kakko played defense.
Like, what has anybody done in the last stretch of games outside of Cooley, who I think looks phenomenal night in and night out, and Berard, who I also think looks very good? Like, what is anybody really doing? I feel like without Panarin, that second line's been struggling. That first line, I mean, the lines have also been getting jumbled night in and night out. So it's like nobody's really doing anything. It's so tough to watch right now. But I will say, I saw this today. This is the fastest that the Rangers have gotten to 15 losses since 2013-14.
When we made it to the Cup Finals that year.
Mignot was the coach. We were 15-15-1, I think it was. And we finished with a record of like 46-30, I don't know. Something like 36-45 in 3 years. I don't know. But we did go to the Cup Final that year.
So last year, all of the 1994 references failed. It's time to start making 2014 references. We're going back to the 2010s.
When we didn't win, it's silly to make references to that. But
it's like the pattern. In 1994, we won. Then 30 years later, we lost. So then now, 2014, we lost. 21 years later, we win. 21, Barclay Goodrow is going to score the goal that wins us the Cup after we trade for him at the trade deadline, after we realized our mistake.
I gotta double check your math there. 2014 to 2025, just not adding up. 21 or 11?
Did I say 21? I meant 11.
No worries. But yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of season left. I know that everybody's really down right now, myself included. But it kind of puts into perspective that we've struggled early on before, and we've made these runs to the Cup out of nowhere. So, anything can happen. I love what Trocheck said today, in that obviously you don't want to see these guys go. Good people, good players, but at the end of the day, Drury also has a job to do. And until the team starts winning, he's going to keep making moves that he thinks will benefit the team. I think the Trouba one does benefit the team. I don't think this one does, but I guess we'll find out. Because Will Borgen could come over here and benefit from playing in our system and our structure that hasn't been working at all. But maybe he's the key to getting it to work again. I have no idea. But only time will tell.
Well, the last thing I'm going to say is that I got curious. I said 21 years ago, which would have been 2005. I'm like, who won the Cup in 2005? Nobody did. It was a lockout. And honestly, I'd be fine if that happened too. If it's not going to be us, then nobody deserves it. So let's keep the 21-year anniversary references going. But yeah, I don't know. I'm sad. I'm not going to say I hate this team. They just make me mad a lot currently. But hopefully that changes soon. But yeah, let us know your thoughts on this trade. I don't like it. It made me mad. Now it's starting to make me mad again the longer we talk about it. So I'm going to speed run this outro. Let us know your thoughts down in the comment section below. If you guys did enjoy, please like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss notification. Be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms at Fireside Rangers. Have a good one, and let's go Rangers.